When you think about Power Rangers, what comes to mind? Bright-colored suits, rubber monsters exploding into sparks, teenagers doing backflips, a giant robot punching things while guitars wail in the background. It feels like pure Saturday morning sugar, the kind of show you watched between bowls of cereal while your parents made breakfast in the other room. Safe, simple, fun. But here is the thing nobody talks about. Underneath all that color and noise, Power Rangers kept dipping into something much heavier. War, loss, fear, sacrifice, mind control, identity destruction. The psychological weight of being a child soldier who cannot tell anyone what they are going through. The show you remember as harmless was never actually harmless. It just dressed the darkness in bright spandex.
Back off our friend Ninjor right now if you know what's good for you.
Strip away the colors for a moment and look at what Power Rangers actually asked you to accept as a premise. An ancient floating head recruits 5 teenagers to fight an endless war against an alien empire that wants to conquer Earth. These kids did not volunteer. They were chosen. And the moment they accepted those morphers, their lives stopped being their own. Every day could be the day a monster attacks. Every moment of peace could end with a communicator beeping. School, friendships, family dinners, first dates, all of it constantly interrupted by battles that could kill them. And they cannot tell anyone, not their parents, not their teachers, not the friends who wonder why they keep disappearing. They carry the weight of Earth's survival on their shoulders, alone, while still being expected to show up to class and act like normal teenagers. But here is something even darker that the show rarely addressed directly. These were not adults making informed choices. These were children drafted into combat. Zordon did not ask their parents for permission. He did not explain the risks. He grabbed 5 teenagers, gave them weapons, and sent them to fight monsters that could destroy cities. The show framed this as heroic, and maybe it was, but it was also a story about children being given responsibilities no child should ever carry. The bright suits just made us forget we were watching kids go to war.
Tiger Sword! Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-tooth tiger!
Tyrannosaurus!
Early Power Rangers villains were easy to dismiss. Rita Repulsa screamed a lot and had headaches. Goldar talked big but always lost. The monsters of the week exploded after one sword slash. Then Lord Zedd arrived. In Season 2, the show introduced a villain who looked like he had been skinned alive. His muscles were exposed. His face was a metal mask fused to raw flesh. When he spoke, his voice dripped with genuine menace. He immediately banished Rita for her failures and proceeded to do something no villain had done before. He won. Zedd destroyed the original Megazord in his first real attack. He created monsters that pushed the Rangers to breaking point. He made the show feel dangerous in a way it never had before. And here is where Power Rangers history takes an unexpected turn. Parents actually complained that Lord Zedd was too scary for children. The complaints were loud enough that the show's producers responded. They softened Zedd's character, gave him comedy moments, and eventually married him to Rita in a storyline that turned the terrifying Emperor into something closer to a sitcom husband. The fact that a kids' show villain had to be toned down because he was genuinely frightening tells you something important. The creators were not afraid to push boundaries. They wanted the stakes to feel real. They wanted children watching to feel actual fear. The bright suits and silly putties were always meant to be balanced by something darker underneath.
My plan is working perfectly. Soon every person on Earth will call me master.
If you watched Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you remember Tommy Oliver as the cool 6th Ranger, the guy with the gold shield and the dragon dagger, the legend. But watch his story again with adult eyes, and you will see something much more disturbing. Tommy was kidnapped by Rita Repulsa, placed under a mind control spell, and transformed into the evil Green Ranger against his will. While brainwashed, he attacked the command center, gave Alpha 5 a computer virus, cut Zordon off from Earth, and nearly killed his future teammates. He was not just fighting the Rangers, he was being used as a weapon to destroy everything good in their lives. When the spell finally broke, Tommy had to live with what he had done. He had to face the people he had attacked. He had to earn trust from teammates who had watched him try to murder them. The show treated his redemption as a triumph, but think about what was actually happening. A teenager was processing the fact that his body had been used as a weapon against innocent people. And then the show was not finished with him. Rita used a magic candle to slowly drain his powers, forcing Tommy to watch himself become weaker, episode by episode, until he lost the Green Ranger abilities completely. Later, when he returned as the White Ranger, he faced clones of his evil self, watched his powers threatened again and again, and carried the weight of leadership while knowing how easily he could be turned into something monstrous. The show even included a moment where Tommy admits his worst fear, that deep down, some part of him is still the evil Green Ranger, waiting to emerge. This was not a simple hero story. This was a tale about identity destruction, psychological manipulation, survivor guilt, and the terror of not being able to trust your own mind. Tommy smiled and did flips, but the character underneath was dealing with trauma the show never fully let him process.
Whoa! Fight music with music! That's it! Come on!
Power Rangers rarely stopped to show you the cost of being a ranger. The format did not allow for it. Every episode had to fit a monster attack, a moral lesson, and a giant robot battle into 22 minutes. But if you paid attention, the pressure was always there. These teenagers had to maintain grades, show up to activities, keep friendships alive, and deal with bullies like Bulk and Skull, all while carrying communicators that could summon them to life or death combat at any moment. They could not call in sick to being a Power Ranger. They could not take mental health days. They could not tell their parents why they kept missing dinner or coming home exhausted. The show treated the youth center as a place of fun and friendship. But think about what it must have felt like to be there, pretending everything was normal, knowing that at any second an alarm could sound and you would have to run off and fight something that wanted to end your life. These were children performing a role, happy teenager by day, secret soldier by night, and the weight of maintaining both identities never lifted. The Rangers smiled because the show needed them to smile, but underneath those smiles was a burden that would crush most adults.
Lord Zed has created a monster from a fish out of the Rampoon River. My sensors tell me it was a piranha, now called Piranha's Head.
Power Rangers was obsessed with taking things away from its heroes. Tommy lost his Green Ranger powers, then lost them again. The original team lost their Dinozords to Rito Revolto. The command center was destroyed. Zordon was captured. Rangers left the team, passed on their powers, moved away, grew up. The franchise kept teaching the same lesson over and over. Being a hero cost something. In Power Rangers, in space, Zordon himself had to be destroyed to save the universe. The mentor who had guided Rangers for years asked Andros to shatter his energy tube, knowing it would kill him. Zordon sacrificed himself to create an energy wave that purified the evil threatening all of existence. The show literally killed its father figure to save the world and expected children watching to understand why that mattered. This was not an accident. The writers understood that heroism without cost feels hollow. They wanted the Rangers to earn their victories by giving something up. Powers, friends, safety, innocence. Something always had to be lost for the win to feel real. As Power Rangers continued beyond Mighty Morphin, some seasons pushed even harder into darkness. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy featured the first on-screen death of a Power Ranger. Kendrix, the Pink Ranger, sacrificed herself mid-season to save another Ranger. The show did not bring her back for weeks. It let the loss sit there, heavy and real. That same season showed a child being murdered on screen. The Magna Defender's son was killed in cold blood by the villain Scorpius, and the show depicted the moment without looking away. The finale featured suicide bomber attacks ordered by the main villain. Power Rangers Time Force opened with a Red Ranger dying in battle. The villain Rancic was not just evil. He was a mutant who had faced prejudice and discrimination his entire life. making his rampage feel like the product of a broken society rather than simple wickedness. And then there was RPM, the season that made everything that came before look like a warm-up. Power Rangers RPM is set in a post-apocalyptic world where a computer virus called Venjix has destroyed or enslaved almost all of humanity. The show begins with over 90% of the human population already dead. The last survivors live in a domed city, slowly running out of hope while machines hunt them down. One Ranger's parents tried to sell her into an arranged marriage. Another watched the only person who ever cared about her die in front of her. The Gold and Silver Rangers were child soldiers who survived the apocalypse through asymmetrical warfare and became obsessed with explosions as a coping mechanism. RPM took a Super Sentai source material about talking cartoon cars and turned it into a story about guilt, trauma, and the struggle to find meaning in a world that has already ended. The villain Venjix holds the highest confirmed kill count in the entire franchise. He did not want to conquer humanity. He wanted to wipe it out completely. And unlike most Power Rangers villains, he largely succeeded before the show even started. The Rangers in RPM were not fighting to prevent disaster. They were fighting in the aftermath of one. Every battle was about survival, not victory. Every win just bought them one more day in a world that had already been lost. The bright suits were still there, but nothing else was safe.
Rangers ready!
Your invasion ends here, Draven!
So why do we remember Power Rangers as just a silly kids show? The answer is presentation. Every dark element was wrapped in bright colors, catchy music, and action sequences designed to sell toys. The monsters were rubber. The explosions were sparkly. The heroes always won by the end of the episode. The format itself created a sense of safety that made the darker moments feel temporary. And kids are resilient processors of media. When you watch Tommy being mind-controlled at age 8, you focus on how cool the Green Ranger looks, not on the horror of losing control of your own body. When you see Zordon die, you focus on the heroes winning, not on the fact that a father figure just asked to be killed. The darkness was always there. We just did not have the vocabulary to recognize it. Power Rangers trusted children to handle stories about war, loss, identity, and sacrifice, and it disguised that trust as entertainment. Now, as adults, we can look back and see what was really happening. The show was not protecting us from hard truths. It was introducing us to them, one monster battle at a time.
I'll get you!
Power Rangers was never just a kids' show. It was a story about teenagers carrying impossible burdens, about villains who represented real threat, about heroes who lost powers, friends, mentors, and innocence on the path to protecting a world that never knew their names. The show understood something important about children. They can handle more than adults give them credit for. They can process fear, loss, and moral complexity when it is wrapped in the right packaging. Power Rangers gave them spandex and robots and explosions, but it also gave them stories about what it means to carry responsibility you did not ask for. The bright suits made us forget. The silly moments made us laugh. The toy commercials made it feel safe. But underneath all of it, Power Rangers kept returning to the same truths. Duty is heavy, sacrifice hurts, and being a hero means giving up pieces of yourself that you never get back.